We have to do our intro.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do. Let's give it like 3, 2, 1. Hi. It's What You're Reading here. I'm here with it's Chuck and Steven, and we're here tonight talking about the fact that Steven just returned from. Tell him where you've been, Steven.
Jessica Jones.
Yes.
Screening pass for the television premiere, and it was a lot of fun.
A good friend of Steven's, a wonderful dude, got him in to see this, and we want to hear all about it because we're psyched, we're stoked, we're waiting with bated breath, as it were.
Well, what's great about it is, with the nature of so many of these projects and television shows and movies, you get to see it before everybody else does, or maybe you get to do a set visit. But there's normally an embargo on it. You don't get to speak about it. But Jessica Jones premiered today, and I could talk all about it. It's not like, well, I got to see it, but I can't tell you about it until Friday. I can talk all about it.
I want to comment on your attire, because you were just showing me that you were dressed from head to toe, as it were, in purple. I'm not going to ask about the stuff I can't see. And can you tell us why you're wearing purple tonight, Steve?
Yes. A good friend of mine, as you said before, Ali Abumar of Social Lifestyle Magazine, among other things. He's a director, producer. He's got his hand in everything.
9-Panel Podcast, did a whole bunch of stuff.
Podcast, something that I'm a part of. Yeah, we went to the Jessica Jones film premiere tonight at the Regal E-Walk Theater at 42nd Street. The whole cast and crew were there. But in deciding what to wear to the Jessica Jones premiere, I realized, well, I'm not going to put on a white shirt and a black tie. I got to go in purple. I got to celebrate Kilgrave, the Purple Man, David Tennant, So before I took off my tie, but this was the tie that I had on.
Lock and tie.
Little purple tie by Tommy Hilfiger. Purple shirt, purple sweater. I do have purple socks on, and other things that are purple, but that's not anything you want to do.
It's not important right now. Surely that's not important right now.
That's lab after hours.
Yes. Off the record, as it were. So tell us how it went. What was the rundown? Was it red carpet premiere? Was it just to come in and hang out kind of thing? What was it?
Well, it was interesting because it was the full red carpet press day premiere. The whole cast and crew were there. Kristen Ritter, Mike Coulter, David Tennant, Carrie Ann Moss, a few other people that are part of the cast that I honestly don't know their names, but they were essential parts of the cast. And Jeff Loeb, Joe Quesada, Ted Sarandos of Netflix. It was the whole complete event, which we got to participate in. We had the tickets, as I'll show again, which is actually it's a really thick, glossy invite where it already gives you the assigned seating. And what was really cool is we were in the third row, so we were pretty close up to it, and it was exciting, as a fan, to be a part of a premiere for something that you've greatly been anticipating. And Jessica Jones is definitely a show that I've been looking forward to. It was a lot of fun. Definitely.
No, that's this is going to be, in my opinion, this is the one I probably look forward to the most. This is Daredevil I had looked forward to the most and was not disappointed. So this is like that next step for me. So I'm definitely psyched about this one. I don't watch a lot of the superhero programming. I'm primarily an Arrow fan, out of all of them. So that's I think that actually lines up if you think about it. Arrow and Daredevil are kind of similar in the basics of the show. And I'm hoping Jessica Jones stays in that kind of serious but not morose tone. So what can you tell us about the actual premiere? What can you tell us about
again, like I said, it's really fun to actually be able to sit here and speak with you about it because we can. It's something that it hasn't been released to the fans and to the viewers that are most likely watching this, unless you were there. But it was a great show. Something that Marvel has spoken about, really, especially over this past summer, was the fact that each film that they do is an attempt to recreate or touch upon a different kind of film genre. Most notably, Ant-Man came out this past summer, and that was supposed to be an homage to the 70s, 80s, mainly like the 70s, like heist movies. Guardians of the Galaxy was supposed to be the homage, tip of the hat, to the space opera. I know with John Watts' upcoming untitled Spider-Man film that's going to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's supposed to be Marvel's attempt at making a John Hughes high school, like 16 Candles kind of movie. And Marvel's great.
Really?
Yeah. And Marvel's been fantastic with creating a formula that works. Daredevil was very gritty. It was very street-based. We all saw it. We all loved it. We all know exactly what it was. And going to Jessica Jones, especially knowing that that's the next step in producing The Defenders on Netflix, you'd expect it to be very similar in that dark, gritty, very on-the-street, urban kind of style. And while it is, it couldn't have been more different. Jessica Jones is essentially really Marvel's attempt at creating a Raymond Chandler, Mickey Spillane, Frank Miller kind of noir take on the Marvel universe and on the city and on characters, on very real people that inhabit and exist within, the city that we all know and love. And
is this their pardon me, is this their Philip Marlowe? Is this their good man in a bad world?
It's I would say more of like bad people in a even worse world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's Hammett explored. Dashiell Hammett explored that as well. That's definitely that's the Sam Spade idea that everybody's corrupt, everybody's horrible, and you're just trying to be a little less corrupt than the rest.
Well, I know you're a big noir guy, and I like it, and I think it's definitely going to be something that you're going to enjoy. What's interesting, and especially one of the conversation fodder for something that Ali and I spoke about after watching the presentation of both episodes, was just how much we had known about the comic books. And Ali and I were a part of a 9-panel podcast, which you can find on iTunes, and we discussed the weekly comic books, pop culture, stuff like that. And Ali, he loves Marvel. He's a big Marvel guy, a big fan of Jessica Jones. He's followed her sub-stories within the Civil War setting. He's read the original Brian Michael Bendis, Michael Gaydos stories, and he knows the material. For me, I didn't really know Jessica Jones all that well. I knew Luke Cage. I was a big fan of Kilgrave the Purple Man through the Daredevil comic books. But when it came to Jessica Jones, I had only known of the Alias comic books, the Max imprint line that Marvel had put out a couple of years ago. But it was never that.
Yeah, from 2001 to
2001 and 2004. So it was something that I never bothered to pick up and read. But after seeing the show, I can speak to the fact that Marvel has created another character that isn't a household name, but within the week and month, definitely before the end of 2015, everybody will be talking about Jessica Jones, like, oh, Jessica Jones, this and that. And she's really going to become a really big character.
Well, now, can you align it to any other genre television that's going on, like in the last couple of years? Yeah. Is there any show that
absolutely.
You would say it's
I would probably say it's very similar in tone to. I would probably say that if Daredevil, Daredevil on Netflix felt like an R-rated movie, but if we equate it to like the PG-13 world, it's more of like the hard PG-13 that you'd expect. Yeah. Jessica Jones is very much an R-rated movie. It's kind of like the Lionsgate, Marvel kind of like movie that you would see. And
really
it is a cross between, I would say, True Detective on HBO and probably the shows that we've seen on FX, like Fargo season 1 and season 2, where I would say it's probably more so Fargo-ish than True Detective in that there is humor. It does take place within the Marvel universe, but it's very un-Marvel-like in the sense that Daredevil was, where other than the character title and subtle references towards the bigger universe, you'd never know that it's Marvel. And I would like to point out that within the Jessica Jones premiere, they did show episode 1 and 2 back to back, and there was never a reference to anything Marvel. So you could go into it, and I don't know, but I can't speak to for the rest of the 11 episodes of season 1. But for episode 1 and 2, they don't make mention of the Avengers. They don't make reference of Daredevil. They don't make reference to any of that. So it's almost like Jessica Jones feels very solo-ish, and it's very cool.
Now, on the shows you referenced a moment ago were primarily crime or almost procedural based, but in more of a stylized way. But the plot they're giving us in Jessica Jones is definitely supernatural in the way that the bad guy's got powers. You know what I mean? He's not. This isn't like a heist or even the way Daredevil was played off, where he's fighting street level criminals. Her first villain is definitely more than human. How did they handle that? They play it magic? Did they play it mutant? Did
it was
they play
done
it? How did they?
In a very interesting way, and I will say that we're going to be delving into spoilerish territory. I'll try and be as considerate as possible to everyone, because
that's why I'm saying I'm not asking for reveal
what
he is.
Go into a play-by-play of specifics, but what I can say is that in the sense that Wilson Fisk Kingpin was the underlying threat and villain of season 1. I think it was episode 1 that you hear his voice when he's talking to Wesley, but it's episode 2 where you finally see him, I think at the end when he kills the guy in the car. If I'm not mistaken, I watched Daredevil so many times, and I feel ashamed for not necessarily remembering specifics, but
they took their time developing him. They took their time bringing him out. They did.
Kilgrave is more of, and kind of borrowing a different pop culture quote, a true Phantom Menace, where his presence is felt immediately within episode 1, and Kilgrave is definitely present. He's definitely there. It's almost like a devil in the details kind of situation. And in one of the particular moments in Jessica Jones, she does refer to him as the devil. We love David Tennant. We've enjoyed him since Doctor Who and Fright Night and Blackpool and all those great things that he's been a part of. But he's not really even in episode 1 and 2. And I'll say it's episode 2 where we finally get the moment where it's like, okay, we want to see David Tennant. They don't even show his face. It's all done in a very Robert L. Swift, DP kind of, where it's like over the shoulder, where you see the back of his head. And when he turns, you kind of see, glimpses of him. There's a sequence in which Kilgrave himself, he's almost mystical. He's almost supernatural in the villain kind of sense, that he has the ability to influence people and to control their minds. And it's kind of like he's like an evil, walking, talking Jedi mind trick. And you find...
Yeah, we knew that already. That's not spoilerish. I mean, that's who he is.
They established that within the show, that he's had his history with Jessica Jones, and that that she's managed to escape from him, but she's suffering from PTSD, and it's almost as if she had gone through a deeply traumatic incident where the scars of that he's left on her are still very much there, and that like she just had to get away from him. One of, someone that we know had equated it to where he's like every abusive husband and boyfriend and, mental kind of rapist, in the sense that, he's an evil person. So they established that they kind of develop somewhat of a science behind how he's doing it. But by the conclusion of episode 2, we still don't really, we haven't gotten
we don't know if he's the devil or a supervillain. Yeah, that's good.
And but we do know what kind of establishes more of the Marvel tone to the series is that they establish that there are people in the world other than, and again, they don't mention the Avengers, but they establish that there are people in the world outside of people like Tony and Bruce and Steve and Thor that have abilities. We don't know why. It hasn't been told yet. But Jessica, she's got like superhuman strength and agility. We meet Luke Cage, played by Mike Coulter, and they give him probably one of the best. They give him the equivalent of the Daredevil whole fight in season 1, episode 2, in Jessica Jones episode 2, where there's this huge bar fight where a couple of guys come and beat him up, and a guy like goes to stab him, like the knife breaks, the guy hits him with the bottle, he just turns around and he like shoves the guy, and they make Luke Cage exactly how you'd want him. But he has abilities. We don't know how. We only begin to touch on the fact that him and Jessica are going to somehow establish a relationship with one another based on the fact that
we saw that in the clips too.
But we don't know why they have these abilities. We don't know why Kilgrave can do what he can do. We just know that he can do it, and that he's really a very, very, very dangerous threat to people.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Daredevil really didn't address other people's abilities at all, except possibly in passing. None of the people he fought really had anything going for them except being people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they really didn't even touch on it. And I watched the whole series. I enjoyed the hell out of the whole series. You're killing me. There's lens flare. Steven is showing us a picture of him and David Tennant, and I am ridiculously jealous. And you need to post that thing so we can link to it and show everybody that you were there, and you were there. What a dude. Look at you. Too much, Beckon. You are a dude, man. I cannot believe that you actually pulled that off. So was it a meet and greet after the episode, or was it
it wasn't.
What was it?
It was going into this, Ali had basically said to me, he contacted me yesterday. We were supposed to do the 9-panel podcast this week. Yesterday, and then we were supposed to do it today, got postponed. We're going to be doing it tomorrow. But he basically put it out there saying, hey, I was invited to the Jessica Jones Netflix premiere with the cast and crew. Would you like to come? So I said, when it me the invitation, I go today to the Regal E-Walk on 42nd Street, go right up to the desk, pick up my tickets. Again, it's this. They had my name and everything on the list. And this, mind you, was the third premiere that I've been to, and the first that I've been a part of in a professional nature. Mm-hmm. And it was great because they had a small section, I guess, that they allowed for fans to enter based on, like contests or raffles if you could win. Mm-hmm. But it was a complete industry professional cast and crew event. It was a true film premiere for Jessica Jones.
Now, were you there as press, or were you just there as a guest?
I was there as one of the guests, I guess. Yes, I guess.
So there was no press conference going on at this. It was just
there was. I wasn't a part of it. I probably could have been. I took a lot of photos from the press line of Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones, Carrie Ann Moss, Hogarth, and David Tennant. But they were all there, all sharing the same elevator, all going to the same theater, and it was cool because David Tennant was there, and I've been a little reserved lately. Since we've been working within this field and as press and industry, other than when you get certain invites to do maybe a round table or an actual interview sit down, I normally don't like approaching people. I think it's just cool to be a part of the same field that they are, and to know that you did it. But he was there. He was the reason I was most excited about seeing this. And, I'm still a very, very much a neophyte with Doctor Who. But I do like him from his other work. And so he was there, tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, David, I'm Steven with what you're reading. It's great to see you. And we're very excited to see the show. And couldn't have been nicer. Spoke with me for a little bit, asked him for the picture. And what was very cool is at the end of the whole premiere, as the audience was leaving, he was just, I guess, with some of his people on a cell phone, texting right in the theater. So I just walked over to him and said, David, again, thanks a lot for everything. And we really enjoyed it. And couldn't have been a nicer guy. And it was a great opportunity to have.
It's always good to hear. It's always good to hear that the people that you hope are nice people are actually nice people. Right. There's nothing worse than a celebrity who doesn't know how to handle being in public, around his public.
Yeah.
We've seen a few of those over the years.
Yes.
But so where are you putting this show, on your chart of superhero?
Yeah, I would say, and again, we know that I have my proclivities towards a different superhero universe.
Yeah, yeah,
But
you
with
could say it. I mean, you're in my. Let me see if I play this out right. The way I see you is it's at the moment Supergirl is top of the heap. Gotham is still in there, and then it's like Flash, Arrow, Agents of Shield doesn't even blip
yeah.
on your radar.
For the week for me, like the biggest show is definitely Supergirl, and then after Supergirl, I would say it would be followed by Arrow, The Flash, and then Gotham. We've been so busy. I've been so busy covering different comic books, other events. I've fallen really behind on Gotham and The Flash, but I've maintained, my commitment to Arrow and Supergirl. But with that,
the problem with Daredevil, it's hard to shoehorn Daredevil in because it was like Jessica Jones is going to be, an all you can eat, one season up front kind of thing. And that to me is a mistake. I still say that's a mistake on Marvel's part because Daredevil has faded. What?
No, I was going to say that I actually had this conversation with someone at the premiere tonight, and we were just talking about the way content is delivered to people nowadays. And, you go back 10 years ago where, DVDs and VHS and even Laserdisc to now where people don't even do DVDs and even Blu-rays anymore. It's all digital. Content delivery is one of the most fascinating things to contemplate, study, and because
to me, it's not the media or the format so much as it is the delivery schedule. Let's say if you look at Stephen Amell and you look at his popularity and his following and what goes on kind of in his world, all of that comes down to the fact that he is a weekly television celebrity who engages the public. Nobody from the Daredevil cast has his level of visibility. Why? Because the show was pumped, it was promoted, it was launched, and it was done. And now we're all waiting for the next season.
It's a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and it's so much harder to build a following on a TV level, because this whether it's produced as a movie or spent for as a movie, a budget like a movie, it's still a TV show. It is. People aren't going to the theater to see it. So the reality is, if you really want to keep people engaged, and you want them coming back, giving them a boatload of TV and saying, "Hey, watch all this and tell us what you think," is fun. But I don't think it's a good long-term plan unless, like Doctor Who, you can, or like like Sherlock, you can do those seasons closer together. Give us 7 episodes, make us wait 8 months, give us 7 episodes. But for some reason, Daredevil seems to almost have faded from existence at this point. Like, I couldn't tell you when the next season's coming, and I love the damn show, and I watch Netflix constantly, and I still can't tell you when it's coming. So most of my TV viewing is Netflix, and I can't tell you. That's a mistake in the long run. I really do think that's a mistake.
I don't know if I'd honestly agree with that. Counterpoint.
Okay. Extrapolate, my friend.
I believe very much that, again, a lot of it has to, you look at it in terms of content delivery and how we react to news, how we react to our entertainment. And entertainment today is so different. You go back again, to like, let's say 1995, to when a movie like Batman Forever came out. My personal memories of that film, not to even get off topic, but it was that, you knew the poster from the one sheet. Maybe you got to see the trailer play before a movie that you went to go see, but you didn't really know about a film of that size until you walked into like the Warner Brothers studio store, Toys R Us, and saw the action figures. And you saw like the Two-Face figure and you were like, oh, so Tommy Lee Jones is going to look like that. You didn't really know anything. Yeah.
Well, there were TV spots, though. There
definitely was. Yeah. But there wasn't anything like with forums and really all this coverage that we now come to expect. Like, you have a film like, Star Wars or Batman versus Superman, and you almost know it going into it, despite how well kept the secrets are. With Jessica Jones and Daredevil, it's a different format because unlike the Marvel Cinematic Universe films where you'll get it, and then you have to wait maybe 2 or 3 years for the next one, you're being treated to almost an enhanced experience for a film, maybe for a lesser character, but you're getting more time spent with them. and I equate it to maybe engaging in like, instead of if they were to do like 12 issues over 12 months and then release it as a trade and you just read the trade, if they were to do everything as trade format and you were to get like your monthly books on like a 6-month, or a yearly basis. That's kind of how I look at their delivery of their like the Marvel delivery through Netflix. And it's up to you. I myself, with Daredevil season 1, I woke up at 3:01 in the morning and binge watched all 13 episodes consecutively. And that's how I chose to view it. Mind you, Daredevil, it's been a character that I've enjoyed for a very long time. At one point in my comic collecting career in life, I actually had every single issue of Daredevil from issue 1 to the then current run, which was Bendis and I think Alex Mayleave or David Mack was one of them. And, selling all the books to build, for other stuff. But Daredevil, that was something that I liked the movie. And so the Netflix show, I almost had to watch it. Jessica Jones, didn't read the comic book. And other than just knowing that she's a Marvel character, knowing that Luke Cage is in it, there's nothing that really would necessarily dictate for me to watch it in the same way that I chose to watch Daredevil. And really today, I was planning on definitely watching a few episodes on Friday. I figured I would watch maybe like 3 or 4 and then do another 3 or 4 on Saturday and continue like that. But they sold me. Marvel, they did it right. They know that they've got a great formula, and saw the first 2 episodes of Jessica Jones presented today. And I could definitely say without a shadow of a doubt that this Friday at 3:01, while I won't necessarily start with the first 2, I'm definitely going to start with 3 and just finish the whole series within it.
By the way, there's word on the internet, Collider, a couple of sites are reporting that there's a Luke Cage cameo in Daredevil season 2.
I wouldn't be surprised.
The Daredevil season 2 teaser hints at a Luke Cage cameo.
Would not be surprised. They've done
brilliant. I mean, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. What was great about the Jessica Jones, the first 2 episodes that I saw, Luke Cage is a prominent part of it. I know there was some speculation that, they would introduce him in it, but it wasn't really certain as to how heavily he would be featured in it. I know from our reviews and our coverage, Nancy Von Wednesday, she's spoken a lot about it. I'm aware that Luke Cage is a very big part of Jessica Jones' life. And he's established firmly in episode 1. He's very much in episode 2, where you actually finally get to see him be Power Man. And he's there. Mike Coulter is great.
He doesn't overshadow, does he? He's not.
No, and I would probably equate him, and it's kind of funny, but you have Luke Cage as a character that's been spoken about for almost as long as Black Panther in terms of when are we going to get to see him on screen. I remember Luke Cage is a character that so many different actors have been associated with. And this is finally it. We're finally getting to see him presented. And again, mind you, the Netflix slate isn't just exclusive to Netflix. I know Kevin Feige, Jeff Loeb, Joe Quesada, they've all readily said that, the Charlie Cox Daredevil within Netflix, he firmly exists within the context of Avengers. And it looks as of right now that within Infinity Wars Part 1 and Part 2, we'll see Cox and Coulter and Ritter all.
That's something that I have to give that to Marvel completely, because they literally found a way to sort of mirror the Marvel Universe in the way they're delivering their content. Meaning, everybody knows the Avengers is the A-team. They were always the A-team. They were always the A-list team. They dealt with planetary threats. They always did. That was who they were, just like Fantastic Four. But guys like Daredevil and Power Man and Iron Fist and Moon Knight and in Spider-Man to a large extent, these were the street guys. These were the guys who dealt with the muggers and the bank robbers and the kingpins and and the drug dealers. This is what they did. So it's sort of interesting that, the Avengers would get the giant screen to fight the aliens, and Daredevil gets the smaller screen to fight the bad guys on the street. It sort of makes a poetic sense. And I would love to see those 2 universes crisscross. I just hope they do it almost keep a little tongue in cheek when they do it. You know, show us that these universes are separate but equal, I guess, is a good way to do it. I know Spider-Man, there's very big plans for Spider-Man, you know, to cross over at some point and be very influential. And that's great. I understand how big a deal he was in Civil War. But I don't know if he can play with the big boys. I don't know if any depiction of Spider-Man standing in the middle of the Avengers will ever really work on a screen. You know, I think that power set and personality do dictate a different presentation of the character. That's just me, though. You know what I mean? I think if you look at the style choices for every version of Spider-Man and Daredevil and now Jessica Jones, and you sort of look at the style choices for Iron Man and Avengers, they're not in any way, shape, or form presented in the same light. You know what I mean? They're just not. You know, and I don't see how you could blend them seamlessly without bringing Spider-Man into a format that he doesn't really belong in, or bringing the Avengers down into the other format. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they pull it off. I think they've done a really cool thing right now, and I don't know how to reconcile it as they go forward, you know, without it looking kind of silly. Picture any scene. I'm saying, like, picture any scene from Avengers 1 or 2 and stick Charlie Cox in it in costume. It just, you know what I mean? It just doesn't, you know, but show me that giant, you know, Earth-sized battle going on in the sky, and show me Daredevil on the street dealing with something that no one even knows what he's doing. That makes sense. You know, show me Steve Rogers dealing with Daredevil. That makes sense. Don't show me Thor dealing with Daredevil. It's just not, doesn't work to me. And I've read the comic books all my life, and it's still on the screen. I don't feel like it would work.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, you know, what the beauty is, the tapestry that Marvel's created within the cinematic universe is that they have all these different avenues to explore their universe. And it really is their own unique universe that exists just as much. You know, I think one of the coolest things about Marvel is the relatability with the characters and with the brand is that, you know, we all exist within the Marvel universe. We're all, you know, be it you're in New York or Chicago or California, you know, all these are represented within their books, and we're seeing it represented on screen within the movies, within Netflix, and within Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And as we know, you know, the nature of what we do, you know, we've work within a field where we meet so many different people and we're speaking with so many different people. If you look at each individual person as their own solo superhero, it's kind of like the second we hang up on Blab, I'm going to be doing my thing, you're going to be doing your thing. And that's like the Iron Man and the Steve Rogers, you know. Then like when you have like the events like the Jessica Jones premiere, or you have like Comic-Con, or you have like a big epic sized event, everybody comes together, and that's kind of like the Avengers. But
trust me, I was thinking that today as I was carrying the basket of laundry down to the basement. When you texted me and said, I just met David Tennant, yes, I completely saw the different spheres we exist in as I was throwing my children's dirty laundry in the machine, going, well, we won't repeat what I said as I stared at that text message because it wasn't very flattering. Right? But I was just amazed at that. And yeah, I've been there too. You know, I've done the roundtables, and I've done the, you know, we do the press stuff, and it is great. But you're right. You know, those it does cross over if it's done correctly. It does work. You can all come from your different spheres and exist on the same plane. I'm just hoping that they don't screw it up stylistically. The reason why I say that is because it's really easy to do. It's really easy to take something and sort of break it by adding the wrong elements, if that makes any sense. Right now, I think all their bubbles are really, really well done. I was worried about that when they were bringing when Iron Man was going to become, okay, now we're doing Avengers movies. Like, oh, shoot, is this going to work? You know, Stark works so well on his own like that. You know, is it going to work? And yeah, it worked. It worked perfectly. But they did it in a similar way. Those movies look a lot alike. You know, they play a lot alike. I wonder how they're going to, you know, make it work. You know, I wonder how they're going to blend it.
Right. I think that's probably my chief concern going into this right now, going forward with Jessica Jones season 1, is just that, we had 2008 see Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk come out, and both of those movies worked very well. But you went into that kind of taking into consideration that, well, Robert Downey Jr. is so great as Iron Man that he deserves his own series, but, we know that they're going to try and cross-contaminate him with, Steve Rogers and with Thor and with the Avengers. And it was always that really primary worry that, are they going to screw it up where you create a very human, a very real-world tale like Iron Man 1, and then start mixing them with fantasy, which was 2011's Thor, where, okay, you can believe Tony Stark exists in the real world. Now you're throwing an alien god into the mix, and it's starting to border on fantasy. And now going like 5-6 years from now, when they blend everyone together, you mean to tell me that Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark is going to be standing in a room with Rocket Raccoon? They're going to have a conversation.
Well, this is where I'm going. Like, my concern wasn't Thor, believe it or not, with Avengers. My concern was more Hulk, because Hulk had so many versions. They tried so many times to make it work, and whether or not they were good movies is up for debate for fans of the movies. But box office wise, business wise, they didn't do that well. They kept misfiring, and the idea that they were going to risk a great franchise that they had with Iron Man by bringing in characters that had failed so many times, you worry about that. And that's kind of how I feel with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's done well, but it's not done well enough that it hasn't needed to be rebooted every damn time they make a Spider-Man
this
movie.
is now.
So the idea of pulling him into a working franchise, knowing how many times they've misfired, guys, do you need to do that? Like, I'm hoping that we don't see a Jessica Jones Daredevil situation like we saw Arrow and Flash, how quickly they merged those two and then pulled them back and then merged them. You know what I mean? I mean, they used Arrow to launch Flash. They literally used one to launch the other. And I'm kind of glad to see Marvel isn't doing that they're not, springboarding off of each other. Let everybody grow up in their own bubble, and then we'll merge the bubbles we can, and we'll see which ones work. But it really does kind of – you're rolling the dice when you do that, when you try to launch one off the other.
It's a huge gamble.
It is. And, I mean, a guy like me, I'm a perfect example because I watched Arrow, and I have very little to say about Flash. It really just didn't do it for me. Now, seeing Flash on Arrow didn't screw me up. In fact, I liked him on Arrow. I liked the character a lot, but it didn't give me enough to move me over. Like, it didn't affect me in any positive way towards Flash. So the gamble didn't pay off for me in that respect. Like, that gambling on me, they didn't move me that way. But they also didn't lose me on Arrow. So, the risk was fine. You didn't lose a viewer, but you didn't gain one on the other show. I just worry about what it can do in the future to the Marvel Universe. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a very divisive show. You either like it a lot or you think it's garbage.
He loves it. I
know, and I've never had a it just does absolutely nothing for me. Leaves me totally cold. And I love the people in it. The actors and actresses in it are great.
And yet, Carter is just
Carter. If Jessica Jones is half as good as Carter, I'll be fine. And I mean good as in, cinematically and directorially and written. If it's half as good, I'll be fine.
To get like with Jessica Jones, that's another thing. Going into it, as I've said several times already, it wasn't so much that I was a fan of the character, it was just that I never read her. And right now, post seeing the 2 episodes, I can't wait to go to my comic shop and pick up the trade and read it. Because that's how much I liked it. And I think largely that has to do with the cast and crew and the way they've presented her and developed her. Excuse me. But Kristen Ritter is amazing as Jessica Jones. And
I noticed that in the trailer. I love the fact that they cast somebody who's not imposing, who's not she's not a tough. She didn't come off as a tough guy at all, but she plays it. You know what I mean? She doesn't look it, but she plays it, and that's really cool.
Yeah, it is a great scene in episode 1 where you have 2 people that come to Alias Investigations. They want to use her to find her daughter. Their daughter went missing. Of course, it ties into Kilgrave, which is the springboard for the whole series and for the reason of the series. but it also her investigation ties into something that Hogarth, Carrie Ann Moss's attorney, wants her to do, where she has to deliver a summons, and it's you kind of in like a Tarantino-esque way. It all
You make her a process server? That's a rough job, man. I did that for a living.
It all kind of like ties into one another in a very Tarantino-esque way. Again, it's very noirish, and so you have Kristen Ritter. She's tall. She's very tall, but she's not. You know, she's not like of that Ronda Rousey build or anything. She's more kind of like the Shield. You know, the Dark Circle Shield, where it's more like agile and more lithe and more about agility. But they have her where she like lifts up a car, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And you see like throw like a guy like through the air and everything, and even like Luke Cage, he's like watching her. He's like, I saw you like lift up a guy with one arm, and you taught, and it's all believable. It's not hokey in any sense, and it just Kristen Ritter through her performance and through just the attitude that she conveys. She's Jessica Jones in as much the way that Charlie Cox was Matt Murdock. If anything, I would probably say Kristen Ritter is probably better as the lead than Charlie Cox was. And that's saying a lot because I loved Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock Daredevil.
I'm the old man, you know, on the site. You know that. I'm the 45-year-old who loves all this stuff because I've been doing it forever. But I have not seen any movie she's been in, believe it or not. I'm sure I saw her on Veronica Mars back in the day. You know, she was in a season or so of that. But like I had no preconceived notions about her going in. And it's the same thing with Charlie Cox, which to me, I think that's one of the reasons why I get so excited for these shows. Because
you're watching it for
like Captain America. What?
You're watching it for the character, not for the actor.
Exactly. I'm watching it for the show. You know, Cap, I was looking forward to Cap when it happened. You know, he had already played a couple of superheroes.
Yeah.
So seeing him go into that, I was like, all right, let's see how it goes. Iron Man, same thing. I of course I had preconceived notions of Robert Downey Jr., but I had no preconceived notions of Iron Man. I had never seen Iron Man on the screen before because this was cool. With the Netflix stuff, these are people I have no background for. So I can buy it. I can sit down and just buy it. I'm never going to be pulled out of it for a second. You know what I mean? Unless they do something completely moronic with the character. So this is really like sort of a dream come true for a guy like me. Because you always worry that they'll overcast it. You know, they'll cast it too big. You know.
But Tenet, though, you're a fan of Tenet.
Yes, I am. Oh God, yeah. But again, I'm a fan of his acting. I mean, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. Yeah. But knowing if he had been the lead, I don't know if that would have been as cool. Like I know we have
Vincent
D'Onofrio series coming up, Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they have Arthur Davrill in that.
Yeah,
it's sort of his show. He's sort of the linchpin of the show.
We got to see them during Comic-Con.
Yes, and that's one of those things that like I'm going to watch the show because I try to watch at least 1 or 2 episodes of every show when they come out just to see if I like them. But that's going to be a little harder for me to disconnect, believe it or not, because I only have him as Rory Pond, which isn't even his last name. That was Amy's last name. It was his wife's last name. But I only have him as Rory. That's all I have him as. So I will see Rory when I look at him, unless he really gives me a really good depiction of this character, who again means nothing to me. Rip Hunter's nobody in my mind. Like I don't know who this guy is or care, you know, one iota about him. Doesn't mean it is, you know what I mean? Most of the guys in this show coming up, they're nobody to me. And as you were saying earlier, you have no past history with Jessica Jones. Neither do I. And I was reading Power Man and Iron Fist, and I don't remember her character at all.
Right.
I remember the Alias book, of course, because I was reading comics when it came out. But otherwise, this was just a name to me.
Yeah.
Just a name of a guy. I had to read, you know, her Wikipedia entries and stuff.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
And I've been reading comics since I was 12. She just never clicked. She never registered. You know what I mean? She never.
It's fairly recent because I know Alias was her comic book debut. That was it, and then
just didn't, you know,
shoehorn.
But it's funny, you know, you want to think like, oh well, you know, I'm a comic book fan, so I know all this stuff. You really don't. If you don't, you don't. And I'm looking forward to it because I feel like it's like Daredevil. It's another chance for Marvel to show off kind of how well done their universe is. I don't think we get enough of it on the big screen because the big screen movies tend to be events. and you're more into the event than you are sort of the day-to-day of the universe. And again, I think that's why Iron Man did so well, because it showed more of that Marvel universe than the event because of the style of the movie. Avengers, you're just sitting there like through the whole thing until it ends. You're not really looking at the intricacies of it. Like, I remember after Avengers going, oh, wow, where was like the mansion kind of feel that I used to get reading the book? Like, there was the book in the 70s and 80s. There was a lot of that walking through the halls of the Avengers mansion, tossing ideas back and forth.
Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which ran for a short time, where they had voted into Avengers Assemble. But the
movie didn't really have that aesthetic. It was more of a shield, pull them all together and send them out to save the world thing, which was great. It was a lot of fun. But I like,
you probably find on Netflix, that was very much like 60s Avengers, where you'll see the Hulk where he's sitting on a couch in Avengers mansion and he's watching TV and just like fun stuff like that, where it's just like,
and that's the stuff that I think we get from the Netflix shows, and from movies like Iron Man 1, that we don't really get, from the big blockbuster films. And that's kind of where I tip my hat to DC, because they have a tendency to do a slower burn. They set their stuff up longer. It's caused them trouble. I mean, I can't tell you, how many Batman movies have there been? How many Superman movies have there been? But I kind of like that sometimes. I like my characters to have a life, not just an event to react to.
Yeah.
So I am definitely looking forward to Jessica Jones for the same thing. I'm interested in seeing how they portray the powers and how they work out the whole superhero thing. But I'm more interested in seeing a really good show about a really good character. So hopefully that's what I'm going to get.
That's what you're going to get. And it's by no stretch of the imagination either, or a stretch of my words. I walked into it thinking that, okay, this is a great event to attend. It's fun as a fan, of all of this. Why would I not want to go? But Jessica Jones, it was a character that, I was definitely going to watch. No question about that. I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't going to watch her. But it wasn't Daredevil to me. And the same going forward with the rest of the Netflix series. The one that had the most interest to me was Daredevil. But Jessica Jones, I came out of it, and I'm a fan. I think the character is great. I think it works really well on film, and I'm really excited now just to see episode 3 onwards to 13, because I want to see how this plays out. And I really want to see Tennant as Kilgrave. I want to see more of him, because we're only really teased, of him. Mm-hmm. We get that last bit at the end of episode 2 where, like, oh man, he's bad, but he goes into this house and there's like a mom and dad and 2 kids, like a boy and a girl, and there's a kid with a remote control purple car. There's little shades of purple that they throw in, which was cool.
Nice.
But he steps on the car, and then he says, like, children should much rather be not seen and not heard than seen and heard, or something. And then it looks at him and he says, I want you to wait in the closet. And then he looks at the girl and he's like, I want you to wait in the closet. And she's like, but I have to use the bathroom. He's like, you could go in the closet. And you see from the child's perspective of him locking them in this closet, and you just catch one glimpse of his face. And it's scary because they're depicting it from the perspective of a kid. Yeah. And you see the girl, she wets herself. And again, it's that's already telling you that I think that's a little darker than anything.
Yeah, that's a dark scene. Yeah, man.
That's and you get this whole undertone that, he's
a bad man.
Yeah, he's really bad. He's very evil. He sits down, and the woman's the wife says to him, oh, we're preparing this. I think you'll like it. And he's like, well, I'll be the judge of that. And I have a very particular palate. But he says it in a very, he's like a snarky guy, but
he's mocking.
You're not afraid. You're is he gonna kill the husband? And is he gonna rape the wife or something? You don't know what he's gonna do. And having Tennant,
you don't know,
is exciting. And the show is definitely much darker than Daredevil. That's something that I've been asking about. Something that a lot of people have been wondering about. And I could say that it is darker in tone and in the way that you could probably let a kid watch Daredevil and not really. You could probably get away with it. Jessica Jones, no. I mean,
Daredevil as a parent, Daredevil is definitely 13.
Yeah.
The way you're describing Jessica Jones, we're looking at R.
Yeah, I mean, the sexual. There's a lot. There was no sexual content in Daredevil season 1.
No.
But yeah, there's like sexual content, in episode 2, and
I do have a question.
Yeah,
I do have a question that I'm wondering how you feel about this. There's been a lot of talk and I don't want to say controversy because it's not that big, but there's been a lot of discussion about Supergirl in a feminist, way. Like, there are people on both sides of the coin. Some say she's too girly. Some say she's, a power girl. How do you think Jessica Jones is going to add to that conversation?
I think Jessica Jones in very much. I think Jessica Jones is going to be seen in a similar way to Haley Atwell as Agent Carter.
Okay.
A very strong piece because it's a depiction of a woman, not like a caricature or a comic book version of a woman.
But we've seen in the trailers that she is victimized early on.
Yeah.
Before we even meet her. Yeah. Is that going to be a big deal?
Yeah, one of the things that I very much enjoyed, and I mean, I'm a boy, and I always feel a little iffy. I always feel very insecure when I'm talking about subject matter like this because, again, we're boys. But with Jessica Jones, I felt that the way they depicted her as a woman, she's definitely broken in a lot of ways because she was victimized in a really unimaginable but comic booky way by Kilgrave, and it's something that I think the theme of it is so universal because there's a lot of people that have experienced this, and there's a lot of women that have gone through something that I can't even imagine what it would be like through their own personal Kilgraves. And I think the way they handle it, it's something that a lot of people will really respond to because it's never gratuitous in the sense that Jessica's gratuitous. It was gratuitous in the way that she's victimized, that it's only just about like basically chaining her through character drama and exposition. It's more of like, okay, no, she went through this experience, but
they're not playing it for the artist. They're not playing it for the audience titillation. They're showing it.
She's constantly moving forward, and it's something that's a part of her. It's a part of, I would say, as much as like they explore like Matt Murdock's Catholicism, but it's a part of who he is, and it's a part of who she is. And yeah, you see that she's a hard drinker. She's a drinker. There's like a funny, like it's not so much funny, but it's kind of humorous in the sense that you see her like you probably see Kristen Ritter in bed more so than you've probably ever seen anyone in bed.
Okay.
And it's not like she's sleeping with anyone. It's just that she's like laying in bed and she's either kind of like it's kind of like a Jack Sparrow thing where she's not like he was drunk, but like she's not really like drunk, but she's definitely drinking a lot of alcohol and she's waking up probably hungover or whatever. And she just like she's always in bed, like, and she'll like get her phone and she'll be on and then she'll get up and do her work. But she's a PI, she's a private investigator. We explore that world of her, and she knows her job very well. She's very good at what she does, and she's not really to be kind of like she's not there for the pure purpose of letting David Tennant, Kilgrave, kind of like chew scenery, or for Mike Coulter, Luke Cage to kind of like play up his manliness. She's as much an equal as they are, and if not more so than Kilgrave, because again, like I said, he's more of a running theme and a threat than an actual physical entity, which works for the character that he is because it's a lot of him inside her mind. But in the way that
I do hope we get to see her beat the hell out of him, though. That'd be great. At some point in the series, to see them actually, to see David Tennant play a physical villain and have to have his butt kicked around a room it's just going to be hysterical to watch for me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Is that, the way Kilgrave is, it's just the way he is in the comic books. He can only fight someone, and he's only as strong as like how his mind is.
Yeah.
Jessica knows how to beat him. She learns almost right away exactly how to beat him, and they establish something within the show where I won't say it, but I'll just say this, that they establish something within the show that you immediately think, oh, well, I could kind of see how they're going to go with this. I'd love to see them go in a different direction and surprise me. But for those thinking Jessica, she's tough. Like I said, she lifts a car. She could jump like up to a roof. She could lift people with one arm. She's going to win. We know she's going to
Well, yeah, I hope so. That's kind of the point of the hero's journey. You want to see the hero get to the end of the journey. Yeah. That's the whole point of the arc. This is fiction after all. Come on, man.
And Luke Cage and Iron Fist. We know she's coming back for the Defenders. I'm not worried about her. I mean, like, it's great to see what she's going through, but we're not worried.
Let's just hope it's a fun ride. Let's just hope the ride is fun and that they can pull it off. So I'm going to assume, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that What You're Reading is calling this a must-watch for Friday night. Yes?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
It's something that would have been a must-watch regardless of having seen it Tuesday night. Something that, again, like I said, I would watch as many episodes as I can, and I love it. If you're a fan, I'm actually very interested in hearing what the real fans think of it, because I don't really know how much they deviate or how much they stay true to it. But for someone like me, who is just sitting down because I like comic books and because I like Marvel, walking away from it where it's like, I kind of want to be Jessica Jones when I grow up, and I get the T-shirt that says Jessica Jones on it. She's great, and the show's great. Again, it's very noirish. The cinematography, the way it's shot, is excellent. They do some really interesting choices with it, and not like just trying to be artistic for the sake of like trying to be artistic, but really smart choices that fit what's going on in the show. And there's a lot of thought that they gave to this, and they knew that in presenting a series based on the character that isn't as well known and established as Daredevil, they had to do it right, or else nobody would care. And I want to binge watch all 13 episodes, equaling I care.
Okay, on that note, let's wrap this up so we can post it so people can hear what you had to say. Before we go, give us your CV. Where can we find you? Where can we read your stuff?
You can find me prowling around on rooftops in Hell's Kitchen.
Don't you wish? Come on now, get it together, boy.
Yeah, you can find me on whatyourreading.com. You can find me on alternativeminds.com, buzzfeed.com. I'm also a part of 9 Panel Podcast. It's not on YouTube, but it is on iTunes. It's free to subscribe. It's a weekly series, which I highly recommend checking out, along with What You're Reading, Alternative Minds, and BuzzFeed. I'm on Twitter at Reggie Mantle III. So be sure to follow me, tweet me, tell me how much you love Jessica Jones, tell me how much you hate David Tennant. And you can find me on Instagram as well at Sherbert Downey Jr. for more of my Superman collection and cool behind-the-scenes pictures like this and the David Tennant one, which I showcased before.
And I think we'll probably accompany this piece when it goes live.
I would think so.
I'll steal it from somewhere and post it. Okay. All right, Steven. Thank you so much for coming in and talking, telling us all about it. And I can't. So we're talking about, what is it? It's Friday, November 20th. Midnight?
Yeah, this Friday, November 20th. It starts at 3:01 Eastern Time, 12:01 Pacific Time.
AM. Okay, yeah. So essentially, once you're saying Thursday night, Friday morning.
Yeah, Thursday night, Friday morning at 3:00 in the morning. It'll all be
all right. I'll be awake. Maybe we'll blab. Maybe. Wouldn't that be interesting? Just get it on and just talk while it's going. All right. Thank you again. And obviously, come to What You're Reading. Check us out. Read what we've got to say. It's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I'd love to hear what you thought of Jessica Jones. I'd love to hear what you thought of Daredevil. Come come in. Let us know. Comment on some stuff. We'll comment back. We're like that. Thanks again, Steven. We'll talk later, okay?
Have a good night.